Hi, Soundview Music. Today we are going to talk about counting. Now, by now you should have already watched the lesson on rhythmic values and on time signatures. So if you haven't done that, stop, do that, and then come back here. We're in 4/4 time, and as the lesson mentioned, this top number and this bottom number both have different meanings. The top number is the beats per measure, and the bottom number is what gets the beat. Some people think of what equals the beat. So in this case, that 4 represents a quarter note. And so in each of these measures, we have enough notes that equal 4 beats. This first note is a whole note. These are half notes, and these are quarter notes. Now, if we said there are 4 beats in every measure, and the quarter note gets the beat, that means that each of these quarter notes is worth 1 beat. When we're counting music, we label the note by whatever beat it falls on or it starts on. So the first thing in a measure, regardless of what it is going to start with 1. You start counting with 1. That's going to take the entire beat. Then the next note will land on beat 2. That's also a quarter note, and we said that the quarter note is worth 1 beat. Because that's also a quarter note, and the quarter note's worth a beat, it takes the entire beat. So the next thing will be the next beat, in this case, 3. Same idea, because that note is worth a beat, that's my quarter note, it's going to take the entire beat, and the next note will follow on the next beat, which is beat 4. So beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4. If we look at these half notes, now a half is worth 2 quarters, which means that this first half note will be worth 2 beats. This next half note will be worth 2 beats. So in this case, it took 4 quarters to fill up a measure. This, it takes 2 halves to fill up a measure. 4 quarters, 2 halves. Same way, it's a whole. So this one starts on beat 1, but it also contains beat 2. So I put 2 in parentheses there. This one would land on the next beat. So this is beat 1. It also contains beat 2. This would be beat 3. And it would also contain beat 4. If we go one step larger than that, we have our whole note. And the whole note is going to take up 4 quarters, or 2 halves, and it's going to be the entire measure. So I'm just going to write a 1 here. And if you want, you could put 2, 3, 4 in parentheses, but it's going to take up the entire thing. Now, if I were to count these, I'll turn my metronome on. If this is my quarter note beat that you're listening to, this would be, I would count them by saying the number on the beat, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Now, when you're counting, avoid going in the lowest part of your voice, 1, 2, zombie sort of thing, and avoid just going 1, 2, 3, because these notes each last the entire beat. So when I speak it, I want to make my voice last for the entire beat. Do it with me here. Ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. You don't want to worry about singing it on a certain pitch or anything right now. We're just worrying about the rhythm. For these, you'll hold it out. 1, 3. Do that with me. Ready? Go. 1, 3. Now for these over here, for this one over here, you're going to hold it for the entire measure, all 4 beats, but you'll only say 1. Here we go. Together, go. 1. Good. And whenever you're holding it out, you're always going to hold it to the end of that last beat, not the beginning of that last beat. Let's do these 3 measures together. Ready? Go. 1, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. So that is the basic idea of counting. Now, we can split notes into even smaller pieces than those. These notes right here are eighth notes. So we went whole, half, quarter, eighth. We're just moving through the fractions, the powers of two, however you want to think of it, where we keep splitting it in half each time. So we've got, this is an eighth note. That's one way we can write an eighth note. This is an eighth note. Here we have the flag over here on the top, the stem and the flag. Here we have the stem going down and the flag. The flags are always going to be on the right side. These are also eighth notes. In this case, the flags were connected to form a beam. So that's an eighth note, and that's an eighth note. That's two eighth notes. That's an eighth note, and that's an eighth note. That's two eighth notes. Over here, we have four eighth notes together. And sometimes this confuses people because they think that putting those four together, it'll change the value. Nope, it's still four eighth notes. 1, 2, 3, 4 eighth notes, 1, 2, 3, 4 eighth notes. So there's just a couple different ways that they can look. So if we go through these, we're thinking about our quarter note is still our beat. We're still in 4/4 time. Our quarter note is still our beat. But now we've split it into smaller pieces than quarters. Now it takes 2 eighths to make 1/4, which means that these notes collectively together will be beat 1. And these notes collectively together will be beat 2. And these will be 3 and 4. So now I have things that are in between the beats that I have to label. So what do I label them as? I call them and. And you can use any symbol you like that represents and. I like that one. Some people use an ampersand. Some people use the little that symbol. But I like the one that's the kind of a plus symbol. So this would be 1 and. That's beat 1. This would be 2 and. So beat 2 contains both of those. 3 and, 4 and. And we refer to this as the downbeat with the number and the upbeat with the and. And if you think about it, if you're tapping your foot to the beat or tapping your hand to the beat, it goes down on the downbeat and up on the upbeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I'm counting these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I go to here, there's something halfway between the two. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If this is my quarter note, this speed doesn't change. 1, 2, 3, 4, but then I add this in between. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Count these with me. Ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Again. 2, ready, go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. One more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now a lot of you might have realized that you started to slightly change the tempo, the speed of the music. It's really, really common, especially when we do eighth notes over and over and over again, for people to slightly speed up or slightly slow down. So be very, very aware of your tempo, the speed of the music that you're going. And I incredibly, incredibly highly encourage you to work with a metronome when you're working on rhythm, because that way you can concentrate on being accurate reading the music, and the metronome can help you stay in time. We're going to start here and go through both of these lines and just maintain a steady tempo throughout the whole thing. Here's our metronome. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Good. And you can go back and review that as many times as you need. Now we can keep going in music. we can just keep cutting it in half every single time and get smaller and smaller and smaller values every single time. So here we have eighth notes, and if we were to cut an eighth in half, we'd get a 16th. So just like our eighth notes, our 16ths can look a couple different ways. These are 16th notes. They have two flags, whereas the eighth note only had one flag. So these are 16th notes with their stems going up and their flags here. These are 16th notes with their stems going down. And again, the flag's there. The flags are going to go to the right all the time. This is a pair of 16th notes. This is a pair of 16th notes. This is 4 16th notes. This is 4 16th notes. So if you think about 1/4 made 2/8, then 2/8 makes 4 16ths. So it takes that many 16th notes to make one beat in this song. And what that means is that the very first one here will be 1. And then all the rest of these things happen before we get to 2. So as we keep cutting the notes into smaller and smaller pieces, we get more and more things that fit in between each beat. Now, if we looked at this note turned into that and that. This note turned into that and that. We just cut it into smaller pieces, which means that this is and right there. So we have 1, another note, and another note. Just like here we had 1 and then we split it to the and. The name of the note that's between 1 and is E, just like the letter E. And the name of the note between and the following beat is ah. And I just write the letter E and the letter A. So if this is 1 and, now this becomes 1E, and this is and ah. So 1 turns into 1 and 1 and turns into 1E and ah. And it's the same idea here. This 2 turned into 2 notes, 2E, and this and turned into 2 notes, and ah. Beat 3, 3E and each of those pieces, and beat 4, 4E and each of those pieces as well. And so if we think about our eighth notes here, if these are our eighth notes, and we split them into smaller pieces, that's what our 16th notes are. They move pretty fast. So if we think our quarters, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8s, 1 and 2 and 3 and 16ths would be 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and So it moves along pretty fast. Let's do quarters, and then 8s, and then 16ths. I'll go ahead and erase some of this just to make it a little bit easier to read. Feel that tempo? Tap your foot or your hand so you can physicalize the beat. You feel where that is, and that way you won't be as likely to rush or fall behind. 1, ready, and go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and Good, good. We're going to do this at a couple different tempos. We're going to go a little bit slower, then we'll go back to this tempo, then we'll go even faster. We're going to do the slow one first. And this is so you can feel these counts in different speeds. Ready? And go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and Good. Now back to the tempo we were just at. Here we go. Ready? Count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Now, are you ready for faster? Here we go. Ready, count. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Let's do that one more time. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Great. So that's the basic idea behind counting. We label a note based on whatever beat it starts on. If notes are less than a beat, they're going to start in between beats as well. And if they're longer than a beat, they'll include extra beats in them that we won't say. We'll just hold out for the combined value. So it's all about whatever beat it starts on. And to know what beat it starts on, you need to know what all of these note values are: whole, half, quarter, eighth, 16th. And you need to know the time signature as well. If you know those things, you can count any rhythm. Keep practicing.